It's been 4 months since Sheikh Hasina was ousted as Prime Minister and Mohammad Yunus stepped in as the chief advisor of a caretaker government in Bangladesh. But the political turmoil in Bangladesh hasn't settled. In fact, it's only gotten worse. Violence against minorities and political dissidents is becoming disturbingly routine, shaking the country to its core. This unrest is now hitting Bangladesh where it hurts the most, its economy. With 80% of its exports at risk and its macroeconomic stability on the line, the situation isn't just a crisis, it's actually creating an opportunity for a section of manufacturers in India. So what is this crisis? How does India come into the picture, and what does it mean for Bangladesh's economy? This is Shubhangi Sharma for CNN News 18. Let's get started. Bangladesh's economy is in deep trouble. And to understand why, let's take a closer look at Chattogram. It's not just home to the country's second largest city and the vital Chittagong port, it's also a powerhouse for Bangladesh's economy. But right now, Chattogram is caught in a storm of violence and political chaos. Here's what's happening. Minorities are under attack, with the Hindu religious movement ISKCON being one of the recent targets. This unrest is scaring off business, and Chattogram, a hub of the textile industry with over 700 garment factories employing hundreds of thousands, is feeling the heat. And it's not just Chattogram. Dhaka, the capital city, is dealing with its own crisis. Workers are out in the streets protesting against low wages and creating a labor shortage that's hitting industries hard. And there's one industry that's at the core of this issue: Bangladesh's textile industry, particularly the ready-made garment sector or the RMG sector. You see, Bangladesh is losing large orders to its competitors, and India is a major beneficiary here.
The demand has kind of shifted towards India. We have seen Raymond, which is one of India's largest manufacturing of garments, have also reported increase in a lot of orders of RMGs, and especially the Tirupur district in south of India.
Political instability has disrupted manufacturing, causing delays in production and interrupting the supply of both raw materials and finished goods. International apparel brands, therefore, are worried about supply chain disruptions and are pulling their orders from Bangladesh's RMG sector and turning to India instead. European companies from Germany, the Netherlands, Poland and Spain are already testing the waters, and the results are striking. Export hubs like Tirupur in Tamil Nadu, Ludhiana in Punjab, Surat in Gujarat, Jaipur in Rajasthan and Noida in Uttar Pradesh are buzzing with new deals. One big winner, the Tirupur knitwear hub in Tamil Nadu. Indian manufacturers are cashing in, securing millions of dollars in deals from top global brands. Leading players like Arvind Mills, KPR Mills, Jindal Worldwide, Raymond and Bombay Dyeing are seeing an increasing number of orders. With its stable production capacity and abundant labor force, India is proving to be the reliable alternative that brands are looking for.
You have to understand that most of the orders for RMGs in this part of the world comes for the lower costs of labor, which Bangladesh is able to give, and India is able to give right now, given we have such a massive working age population, with 50% of the Indian population in the working age. So we are able to provide that kind of a competitive advantage in terms of lower input costs, specifically lower labor costs.
Raymond, for instance, has experienced a surge in demand thanks to its ability to offer competitive pricing and end-to-end solutions from fabric production to garment exports. The company's recent 200 crore rupees investment in expanding capacity has positioned it perfectly to capitalize on this opportunity. India's advantage lies in its workforce. India's 18 to 35 age group, a massive demographic of around 500 million people, is larger than Bangladesh's entire population. Another edge lies in its robust fabric supply chain, unlike Bangladesh, which primarily focuses on garment manufacturing and imports raw material like cotton from the likes of India. But this is bad news for Dhaka and a terrible time to be distracted by religious extremism and political retribution for its leadership. You see, Bangladesh is the second largest ready-made garment exporter in the world, with China being at the top spot. In 2024, it exported $38 billion worth of apparel wear. Today, Bangladesh's RMG sector is losing orders to its competitors. It's important to note that the RMG sector forms 15% of Bangladesh's GDP, but to really get a whiff of how destabilizing such a trend can be for the Bangladeshi economy, get this: ready-made garments make up 80% of its exports. That's right, 80% of Bangladesh's entire export basket.
There is very low diversification in Bangladesh's trade basket, with the RMG sector taking up almost 80% of its trade, which makes it so prominent that even a small hit at the RMG sector has the capacity to completely disrupt Bangladesh's external outlook.
Since the 80s, the RMG sector became a crucial part of Bangladesh's economy, growing rapidly through the decade. This has brought a lot of money into the country, making it one of the fastest growing economies in the world. But this success story has become one of overdependence, and lack of diversification is finally hurting.
Now, if you have less diversification in the amount of goods that you're exporting, which is true for Bangladesh in this case, and there is an exogenous shock that impacts that particular sector, which is RMGs in this case, then the entire macroeconomics of the situation gets impacted, because I do not have another sector to fall back into.
In fact, Bangladesh's RMG sector has been facing headwinds since the COVID pandemic. Rising inflation and forex crisis preceding Sheikh Hasina's exit had already created troubled waters for the economy, which was only exacerbated after the August coup. Now, Bangladesh is in talks with the IMF for $3 billion worth of loans. It is also quoting China for a bailout.
Bangladesh is also reaching out to China for a massive bilateral loan. But what we have to understand is the difference of these loans that the country is seeking out from multilaterals from one side and from strategic partners from China on one side is that although multilaterals have their basic conditionalities in terms of increasing tax rates, increasing fuel prices, all of this, which does not really go down well with the broader population in general, especially if the population is not affluent. But also, again, these bilateral loans have a lot of conditions which are strategic in nature and could be harmful in the longer term in terms of the security aspect as well as the sovereignty aspect.
India and Bangladesh's textile industries are known to be deeply connected, each playing to its strengths. India handles mostly the upstream work, supplying essentials like silk, cotton, yarn and fabrics. Bangladesh takes it from there, focusing on making finished clothes and shipping them all over the world through India's ports and airports. This is a relationship that's worked well for both sides for years.
By the laws of international economics, you don't really have a lot of advantage by expanding horizontally, but more vertically. The more you specialize in something rather than specializing all the aspects of the value chain, the more revenue, the more welfare you generate out of it. So I guess over the years, that is what India was doing. The motive was not to be benevolent all the while, but to really have a very specific comparative advantage in a particular commodity or a sector or a part of the value chain.
But the ongoing situation in Bangladesh has created an opportunity for competing nations across South and Southeast Asia, which is why India would be prudent to absorb the increasing number of manufacturing orders as they come. It is being said that the industry could bring in an additional $2 to $3 billion in the next year itself. Moreover, this shift also has the potential to push FTA talks with the UK and the European Union, which are home to many of these apparel brands. The challenge now would be to sustain this competitive edge in the long term.
If we do want to develop our textile sector for the longer term and not only take advantage of the short-term exogenous factors which are beyond our control, for now we are able to sustain it because we have no dearth of labor supply, we have no dearth of cheap labor supply, to be specific, but the labor is not going to stay cheap and we are going to move to other profit making sectors. So for us to keep this sector more benefiting in the longer term, we also need to think about skilling towards automation.
But while shifts in business take place, these are mere symptoms of a bigger problem, and that is the political divide spilling onto the streets of Bangladesh. It is now on Chief Advisor Mohammad Yunus and his caretaker government to decide on the nation's priorities going forward.